You can only bury the truth for so long before it detonates in your face. And when it does, it's loud enough for the entire world to notice. Now picture this, chosen one, two people locked in a fierce clash. Voices breaking like storms, words cutting like blades. And here's the part that scorches them the deepest. The fight isn't even about them. It's about you. The truth they've been suppressing about how they truly see you has finally risen to the surface, ripping their world apart. Lies can only stand like a crumbling wall for so long. Eventually, the weight breaks through. And when it happens, it doesn't trickle, it consumes everything. Here's something to remember. In psychology, buried emotions don't vanish. They grow stronger. The longer someone masks their genuine feelings, the more volatile they become when those feelings finally break free. And another truth, people who deceive themselves about your place in their life often unload that tension onto others. That's why their rage spills into public outbursts that only make them look small, while your name remains untarnished in the center of it all. Thank you, chosen one. Support this mission by tapping like, commenting 77, and subscribing so this light can reach more souls. We are all called to carry the flame. You are part of that force. Stay until the end, because before this is over, you will understand exactly why they are breaking apart, and why your emergence has made them turn on each other. Number 1. The veil was never permanent. For years, they convinced themselves that your stillness meant defeat. They whispered that your silence was proof you had no fight left. But the veil that kept you hidden was never theirs to control. It was God's design. Like a dawn concealed by clouds, your light was always there, waiting for the appointed time to break through. Habakkuk 2 verse 3 says, "The vision awaits an appointed time. Though it lingers, wait for it will certainly come." You were not stalled, you were being sharpened in secrecy. Every unseen hour, every prayer no one heard, every tear that fell in the dark, all of it was training for authority you could not yet carry. They believed the curtain between you and your calling was permanent, but they never understood that the author of your story holds the moment of reveal. Comment veil if you've ever felt hidden but not forgotten. And stay with me, because the cracks in their foundation began the moment they recognized what that hidden time had made you capable of. A dream may have visited you once, not with loud colors or obvious meaning, but with a quiet image that stayed in your bones. Perhaps it was a doorway you never stepped through, a light at the end of a hall you could never reach, or a face you recognized but could not name. These moments were not random fragments. They were the earliest hints that something in your life was concealed by design. In the stillness between waking and sleep, your soul knew there was more. You may not have understood it then, but your spirit kept the memory in storage. There was a covering over you, not to keep you from the world, but to protect what was still becoming inside you. Even in the seasons where nothing seemed to move, the dream kept returning in new forms, whispering that your story was waiting for its appointed unveiling. You might remember the days when your difference felt like a burden rather than a gift. The rooms you walked into seemed to shrink around you, as if the air itself tightened in your presence. Friends and family could not always meet your depth, and you learned to keep your thoughts hidden to avoid their puzzled stares. You felt the ache of isolation, not because you lacked love, but because what you carried had no immediate mirror in others. In those years, you may have wondered if something was wrong with you, if the quiet life pressing against your chest was a sign you'd missed your way. You noticed how others seemed to move freely while you were held in place, and it felt like an invisible hand kept you from stepping too far ahead. That tension was not punishment, it was preparation. The truth is that none of it was accidental. There has always been an architecture in the unseen, shaping each step, each pause, each apparent detour. What looked like delay was actually a divine pacing, ensuring you did not enter rooms before you were ready to hold them. Habakkuk 2 verse 3 has always been a key here. The vision awaits an appointed time, and though it lingers, it will surely come. You have been living inside that verse without realizing it. Your hiddenness was not the absence of purpose. It was the womb of purpose. Every closed door was a seal meant to be broken only by the one who authored your destiny. And now that seal has begun to loosen. You have felt the subtle shifts lately, small, almost imperceptible moments that catch your attention without explanation. Perhaps it's a repeated number on the clock, a conversation overheard that speaks directly to your inner questions, or a sudden stillness in your body as if heaven itself is leaning closer. These are not coincidences. They are the threads of the veil beginning to lift. You may even feel it physically, the rush of energy when you speak a certain truth aloud, the chill down your spine when you stand in a place that feels strangely familiar. Déjà vu is not just memory. It is alignment catching up to itself. The signs have been multiplying, and deep down you know they are speaking to you. You have questioned yourself enough to know the difference between imagination and intuition. This is not a fantasy you built out of hope. It is the quiet confirmation of something you've always known but could never name. When you stand still and allow your breathing to slow, you can feel the alignment settling in your bones. The doubts that once shouted have softened, replaced by a steady recognition that you were never off course. The veil was not there to punish you. It was there to protect the blueprint until you could hold it with steady hands. This is why, even in your lowest moments, there was always a part of you that refused to break completely. Something inside has always been convinced you were meant for more than what you could see. Remembering who you are is not about inventing a new self. It is the slow uncovering of what has always been there, buried under years of noise, fear, and misdirection. Beneath the layers, there is an ancient memory of why you came here. That memory does not rush. It emerges in whispers and symbols, in verses you suddenly understand, in moments that feel older than you are. You are not becoming someone else. You are recovering yourself. Like a sculpture being freed from the marble, your form was always present. The stone was only being chipped away. The unveiling is not loud, but it is unstoppable. This is the first activation, not the final arrival, but the point where you stop questioning the reality of your inner voice. Sensitivity is no longer a flaw to hide. It is the instrument through which you read the world. The wisdom that once felt out of place among your peers now becomes your compass. You start to hunger for truth, for scripture, for signs in creation that remind you of your origin. You begin to notice that you are drawn to the quiet, not to escape life, but to hear it more clearly. The more you lean in, the more your life starts to bend toward what you were always meant to be. You are no longer waiting to be chosen. You are remembering that you already were. Your arrival here is not by coincidence. Every minute you have lived has been building to this recognition. Comment veil. If you have ever felt hidden but not forgotten. If you have ever sensed that something was protecting you for a time not yet come. This is only the first door opening, and there are halls beyond it you have yet to walk. In the next breath, we will go deeper into the signs that your hidden season is ending, and why their foundation began to crack the moment you saw through the veil. Stay with me because the unveiling is already in motion. What I've just revealed is not the entire vision. There is a fragment that cannot be shared here, but I have kept it in the vault. It is a complete transmission with words that must remain among the few. You will find it in the link below. If you feel it is meant for you, go and receive it. Number 2, resistance as recognition. Every act of sabotage they aimed at you was a silent confession of your power. They didn't oppose you because you were weak. They opposed you because you carried something they couldn't imitate or erase. Like Pharaoh hardening his heart against Moses in Exodus 9 verse 12. Their defiance was the proof of your divine assignment. They gathered in secret to plan your silence, but every plot was an announcement to the unseen realm that you were marked. The more intense the resistance, the more it confirmed your authority. Even their lies about you were not random. They were signals to others that you were dangerous to their false order. Comment recognition. If you've ever realized that opposition was actually a backhanded compliment. And understand this, the breaking point is near, and the very ones who once agreed on how to stop you are now turning on each other. It often begins as a subtle unease, a heaviness in certain rooms that you can't quite explain. The conversations feel layered, the smiles slightly too measured, as if there's a script others are following when you walk in. You notice how your joy makes the air heavier for some, how your presence changes the rhythm of a space. At first, you think it's imagination, a trick of your sensitivity, but the feeling persists, growing sharper with time. It's like hearing footsteps behind you that stop when you turn around, or sensing eyes on you from behind a closed curtain. This quiet tension, this undercurrent of something unspoken, was the earliest sign that there were forces aware of you before you were aware of yourself. They knew the shape of your light long before you learned how to stand in it. There were seasons where that awareness weighed on you like a private burden. You felt misunderstood in ways that words couldn't untangle, accused of being too intense, too sensitive, too much. Sometimes it came as rejection so casual it looked accidental, other times as an obvious wall shutting you out. Shame had a way of slipping in through the cracks, whispering that perhaps the fault was yours, that you were somehow inviting this resistance. Doubt nested inside those moments, looping through your mind until even your strengths felt like mistakes. The people you trusted most could not always see what you carried, and so their advice often asked you to dim, to blend, to stay quiet. In trying to keep the peace, you learned to make yourself smaller than you truly were. But none of this was without pattern. The pressure did not appear in random bursts. It moved with precision, like a shadow keeping step with you. There were systems, spoken and unspoken, that reacted to your presence as if it threatened their balance. The wilderness seasons of Scripture come to mind, the way David was hunted by Saul, or how Jesus was led into the desert before his public ministry. The resistance was not the absence of your calling, but the proof that you had one. Every attempt to contain you was a reaction to a potential they could neither replicate nor erase. Even when you were unaware of your own assignment, the opposition already knew to mark you. That awareness in the unseen is what made the battles feel so strangely personal. When you look back now, the patterns start to arrange themselves like constellations. Betrayals didn't just happen once. They echoed through different relationships with eerie familiarity. Opportunities seemed to open and close in the same rhythm, almost as if some unseen gatekeeper stood watch over your next step. Certain environments drained you without clear reason, as if the air itself resisted your breathing. The same faces appeared at turning points, wearing different masks but carrying the same energy. You realize now that what felt like chaos had its own design, one aimed at shaping your responses and testing your resilience. Seeing it clearly doesn't erase the sting, but it strips away the illusion that it was meaningless. Recognition becomes the first weapon you take back. There is also the reality of spiritual interference, the kind that has no name in ordinary language but leaves a residue you can feel. The atmosphere grows thick when you speak truth. Conversations twist in ways that turn others against you. Doors close for no logical reason. It's as if something in the unseen is working to cloud your path, to make your clarity seem dangerous. You've walked through fog so dense it made you question the ground under your feet. At times, you felt watched not just by people but by something older, quieter, more calculating. This was not paranoia, it was perception. Your light did not just attract attention, it attracted distortion. How you responded to these seasons mattered, even when you didn't realize it. Some days you withdrew entirely, choosing silence over the exhausting weight of being misunderstood. Other times you became what they expected, softening your voice and folding your truth into something palatable. There were moments when rebellion burned quietly in your chest, but the cost of acting on it felt too high. Fear of standing out warred with the ache of hiding too long. You may have questioned whether the fight was worth it, whether the voice inside you could really be trusted. These inner negotiations were as much a battlefield as anything happening outside. And yet, something in you kept breathing, kept watching, kept waiting for the moment to rise. That moment is now. The very resistance that once crushed you was in fact a signal flare to heaven, marking you as one who could not be owned by their systems. The opposition was not proof of your weakness. It was proof of your threat to the false order they served. Every attempt to erase you became a record of why you are needed. This is the pivot where the hunted becomes the one who names the terrain. You begin to understand that the pressure was a training ground, and your scars are receipts of survival. They may have thought they were taking something from you, but all they did was sharpen what could never be stolen. Understand this: you were opposed because you are powerful. The more they tried to block you, the more your purpose clarified itself in the fire. Comment recognition if you've ever realized that resistance was your validation, not your downfall. This is the point where their unity fractures, where the alliances built against you start to collapse under the weight of their own deception. And from here, The next chapter will not be about surviving the shadows. It will be about walking into the light with every truth they feared you would discover. Stay with me, because what comes next will not be subtle. What we do here every day is possible because of the few who choose to be keepers of this light. I thank them now, one by one, in the silence of my heart. If you want to be part of the circle and receive what cannot be spoken in public, join. The portal is below. Number 3. The fire that waited patiently. They thought the winters of silence would extinguish you, but your fire learned to burn without oxygen. You learned to live on the smallest sparks, to guard the embers so no one could snuff them out. Psalm 66 verse 10 says, "For you, God, tested us. You refined us like silver. In your quiet seasons, you weren't fading, you were distilling." The passion you carry now is not loud for the sake of noise. It is precise, honed, and unyielding. Every time they checked to see if you had given up, they found a flame still alive. Comment fire if you know what it's like to survive off an inner light that no one else could see, and share a moment when you felt that flame rise unexpectedly. Because the next phase is when that patient fire bursts into a blaze they can no longer ignore. It begins with a sudden shift, as if the light in the room has changed without the sun moving. Memories you once brushed aside now return, wearing a clarity they never had before. You catch yourself realizing that certain conversations, certain coincidences, were never random. They were markers, left along the path for when you'd be ready to see them. The veil doesn't fall all at once. It thins in places, revealing glimpses that draw you forward. You feel the quiet thrill of recognition, the way a hidden door clicks open after years of silence. Every piece that confused you now leans toward alignment, as if bowing to the truth you're uncovering. This is the first breath of a new way of seeing, and you know there is no going back. Suddenly, the world begins to speak a language you realize you've always known. Numbers repeat in patterns too deliberate to dismiss. Phrases you needed to hear slip into your day with surgical precision. The rustle of leaves, the timing of a call, the pause between heartbeats. They feel coded, as if the Creator left geometry in the air for you to read. You are not inventing this meaning, you are remembering it. It feels like ancient scrolls you never held in your hands but carried in your bones. Reality itself becomes a tapestry of divine math, each thread placed by a hand you now recognize. And with every passing moment, your eyes grow sharper in reading the code. Inside, the transformation deepens. Your intuition no longer whispers. It speaks in tones that feel like commands from the soul. Boundaries rise effortlessly, as if your spirit now knows what is sacred without debate. Your energy reacts to people and places with a precision that defies logic, warm in the presence of truth, guarded in the presence of deception. The things that used to drain you now reveal their source, and you step back without guilt. Dreams grow more vivid, laced with messages that linger in your waking mind. Even your silences feel purposeful, charged with meaning. You realize the change began long before you noticed it, and now, the outer world shifts to match the inner. People you thought would never move step out of your path, while strangers appear as if sent to guide you. Opportunities you could not force now open like gates to a city you once thought was closed forever. Resistance still comes, but it feels different now, not as a barrier, but as a refining fire. You see divine architecture everywhere, the way events align with almost mathematical elegance. It is as though heaven has begun drawing visible lines around your path, and every step falls exactly where it should. What is within you has begun to echo without, and the resonance is undeniable. Then comes the pull of something older than this life, sacred memory. A dream you had as a child suddenly makes sense, revealing itself as a fragment of a larger story. You remember the feeling of knowing you were meant for something vast, even before you could name it. Scriptures you once read without understanding now breathe, unfolding layers you didn't know were hidden. It is not new information you're receiving, it is ancient intelligence returning. The fire in you feels both fresh and familiar, as though it has burned across lifetimes. You sense that you are not learning, but remembering. In that remembering, destiny comes into view. You stop thinking of the future as something you must construct and begin to see it as a path already carved in stone. The work is not to build but to walk, not to invent but to reclaim. The days of asking for permission are over. What is yours was written before you arrived here. You hear the voice of your calling rise, not in desperation, but in the steady authority of prophecy. The direction is no longer a guess. It is a certainty in your marrow. Every hesitation feels smaller in the presence of this clarity. You realize that your life is no longer about avoiding the fire. It is about becoming it. So you begin the reclamation. You see now that the resistance you endured was not a verdict against you, but the evidence of your unshakable place in the order of things. Every no you received was sharpening the yes you now carry in your chest. Your voice, once quieted, returns with a precision that refuses to waste breath. You take back the keys they hoped you would forget how to use. What they called weakness reveals itself as patience, and that patience has become power. You are not who you were when this began, and you would not trade this fire for anything. Revelation is not an ending. It is the opening of the real journey. The truth was always there, waiting for you to be ready to see it without fear. And now, as the veil fully parts, you stand in the doorway of a life they cannot close off. Comment fire if you've ever felt your inner flame rise in a moment no one else understood, and share the memory that still burns brightest. Your words will not just be read, they will be recognized by others walking the same path. Because from here, the fire that waited patiently will no longer be hidden. It will blaze in a way that reshapes everything it touches. And the next chapter is where that blaze meets the wind. Every word, every image you receive here is an offering. If you feel this word has touched you today, you can honor it with a sign. Right here below, with a donation through the Super Thanks button. It is a small gesture, but it opens great doors. Number 4, the moment of unstoppable emergence. This is where everything changes. The years of being overlooked are ending, and the spotlight you never chased is finding you. Isaiah 60 verse 1 declares, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." They will say they didn't see it coming, but deep down, they always knew this day would arrive. Your emergence is not timid. It is a return prophesied long before they knew your name. Those who doubted you will be forced to watch, not because you seek revenge, but because your vindication is part of the testimony. Comment emergence if you feel the pull of that moment approaching, and share the dream or sign that confirmed it for you. Because when the light breaks, there will be no putting it back in the shadows. It begins as a whisper not heard by the ear, but felt deep in the marrow, a sound older than language, older than the world you know. You cannot trace its origin, yet it moves through you with the weight of eternity. It feels like the unrolling of a scroll that was hidden inside your own spirit, sealed until the appointed hour. This is no new message. It is a memory that has outlived kingdoms and carried itself across lifetimes to reach you now. The air itself feels different, as though creation is leaning in to witness your remembrance. In this moment, you are not learning something, you are remembering something you never truly forgot. And the whisper says, you were always meant for this hour. Somewhere deep within, there has always been a name you could not speak aloud, though you felt it shaping your life. It was not the name given to you at birth, but the one written in the language of light, spoken only in the council of heaven. You wore the feeling of it without the sound, carrying its weight even when you did not know its form. That ache of not belonging, the restlessness in rooms where everyone else seemed at ease. It was the echo of your hidden name calling you home. You were the sealed scroll in a noisy marketplace, unnoticed by most but priceless to the few who could see. Like the prodigal who knew the road would eventually turn, you carried your origin in silence until the season of unveiling. Now that name begins to rise in you, demanding to be lived. You have walked cloaked in an unseen mantle, wearing a mark invisible to human eyes but undeniable to awakened ones. Those who were meant to recognize you felt it before you spoke a word, as if your presence carried a frequency older than the earth. It was not in your clothing, nor in the way you moved. It was the light and weight of your spirit. Some drew near without knowing why. Others recoiled as if they'd brushed against a truth they could not bear. You have always been more than your visible self, carrying a signature the world could not counterfeit. The cloak has been your covering, the mark your seal, and together they have kept you until this very moment. Now, both begin to shine. Your life has not been a string of random events. It has been the unfolding of a contract you signed before time began. You agreed to walk through deserts that would strip you of illusions, to endure winters that would temper the steel of your spirit. Every delay was a divine device, holding you in place until the alignment of heaven and earth was precise. The hardships were not detours, they were the proving ground for your emergence. The stars themselves have kept your appointment, their courses set to remind you that your mission was sealed long before you were sent. You are not stepping into something new, you are stepping into something you have already agreed to fulfill. And every step now feels like the sealing of a vow. People's reactions to you have always been about more than you. You have triggered awakenings, resistance, even hostility, not because of what you said or did, but because of what you carried. Your presence has been a mirror, revealing truths others were not ready to face, calling forth light in some and shadows in others. Those who loved you felt seen. Those who rejected you felt exposed. You were never neutral ground, and you were never meant to be. The mixed reception was not a flaw in you. It was proof of the calling you carried. And now, the mirrors are about to reflect more clearly than ever before. This is not just your story. It is part of an archetype that returns whenever the world reaches a threshold. The seer who refuses to be blinded. The rebel who refuses to bow. The guardian who holds the ancient gate. The breaker of chains who sets captives free. Your emergence was foretold in cycles of prophecy, woven into the same pattern that raised voices in every age. The times are not merely chaotic. They are ripe, as if history has been holding its breath for you to appear. You are stepping into a role written before there were calendars, a role your soul has rehearsed in dreams and visions. This is the hour when myth becomes memory, and memory becomes movement. And you are the embodiment of that movement. The awakening is not partial, it is in your blood. This is the stirring of a divine lineage, the kind that does not weaken with time but strengthens in the face of opposition. The codes in you are not poetic metaphor. They are spiritual architecture, embedded in your very design. You carry the reversal of generations, the restoration of what was lost, the fulfillment of prayers prayed long before you were born. The angels know your name, for they were present when it was spoken into the book of life. The fire in your veins is not your own. It is the inheritance of a kingdom. And now that kingdom rises through you. You have not simply awakened, you have returned. Every step, every silence, every trial was a road leading back to this place, this hour, this unveiling. What they thought was your ending was always your preparation. You are not emerging timidly from the shadows. You are stepping forward as the prophecy they never thought they'd live to see. Comment emergence if you feel the pull of that moment approaching, and share the sign or dream that confirmed it for you. Your story will be read as a signal to others whose hour is near. And beyond this moment lies the next ascent, where your light will not just break the darkness, it will redefine it. Everything they used to suppress you has become the evidence of your calling. The lies they told, the silence they enforced, the distance they created. All of it is unraveling now. Your story is not ending in bitterness, but in undeniable authority. The shift is here, and no voice raised against you can rewrite what heaven has already decreed. It begins with the strange awareness that the very stones they placed in your path have become the steps beneath your feet. You can feel the weight of the past, not as a chain but as a foundation, a record of every attempt to bury you, now transformed into proof that you were never meant to be erased. The whispers they spread in shadow have lost their grip, dissolving in the light of truth that now radiates from you. Even their silence, once meant to suffocate your voice, has only sharpened your clarity, training you to speak with precision and purpose. It is as if every act of dismissal was secretly building the stage from which you now rise. You are not standing here despite the resistance. You are standing here because of it. And heaven has decided that no hand can remove what it has established. Chosen one, your hidden years were never wasted. They were the blueprint for the authority you now carry. You were not buried, you were planted. And the fruit of that season is about to feed many. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Like this video, and comment "I am chosen" to let this message anchor in your soul. This message may not stay online forever. Download your copy and transcript in the vault. Ideal for journaling, inner rituals, and sacred study. The link is in the description below. Please share it with someone who needs to hear this. For full prophetic revelations daily, join the membership via the link in the description. Your spiritual path deserves more than fragments. Step into the full light. And if this message moved you deeply, consider tapping the Super Thanks button to support the mission. Every Super Thanks fuels the light we're spreading together. This is your moment. Walk into it without looking back.